And once again, we have Drake and Company tonight. In just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Drake. What I would like to do is I would like to ask everybody, our forum is pretty much wide open. If you speak up or if you have noise in the background and you happen to not be muted, everybody on the planet's going to hear it. And yes, I do hear tell that we do have worldwide listeners tonight because people have been looking for Drake's first scheduled first scheduled call at his new home for about a week now. So with that, I am Paul on the Global Voice, and I am going to turn it over to Drake. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. Now, something I want to express, two things, actually. First of all, everybody out there that's listening needs to grab a piece of paper and something to write with, because you want to probably take notes on this. I've been going round and round trying to get things to get to the point where we the people could actually do something towards settling out all the BS and the wait time and all that. And basically the last couple of days, that's primarily what I've been doing. Now, people have expressed that they don't want people to get in their stuff by knowing who they are and all that sort of thing. Well, I got news for you. In case you don't know, you probably made no list because you probably ain't the kind of people that are really interested in all that much. But if you don't know much about the internet and connections and all that, everything we got, they know about. They listen to the show. I mean, I don't know if they're fans or not. Probably will be after tonight. You got about 20, 25 seconds before getting into the meat of this. So I would suggest that don't worry too much about privacy. And somebody can state that in the chat room, I'd appreciate it. Your privacy, if you're in the chat room, you don't got it. Now, even if you're going through a secondary service, you still ain't got that much. So it don't really matter. We've got a choice. And what we need to do is face realities. The process of that I'm going to lay out tonight, and hopefully people will pick this up and run with it. Now, what I'm going to request and ask and beg of everybody is to take the information you got, take it down. If you missed something, go back to the recording. This will be recorded. You can get the recorded copy of what I'm going to lay out. I'm going to go through some of this twice. There's a reason for that. This is not easy for me to come out with, and I also have a load of guarded information that other people don't have that I'm not allowed to share. Now, that's a request from the people that are involved in all this, to include military, etc. I will not out somebody simply for their protection, and that can be, the military going after one of their own because they're sharing state secrets or whatever might be going on that somebody might take exception to, and they can zap you with some fun and games and all that. Anyway, first, here it is. The reality needs to be faced. And this is what the reality is. We have a choice. If we, the people, go after the shadow government, as we know it to be, those who are behind the scenes, so to speak, to an extent, some we know as being out front. The people that have been playing games with us for so long have promised to fight to the very bitter end. Now, what that means is basically all-out war. If anybody does not know or has no clue as to what war entails in terms of destruction and fun and games, take a look at Palestine. Take a look at some of the holes that rockets make in Jerusalem. Go look at Syria. These things are all over the internet. They give you an idea, okay? Coming to a neighborhood near you, right down the block, think about it. Think about a battle tank going through the neighborhood and just taking out everything that stands. If that's not what you're after, Now, I'm gonna qualify that. If you don't have a tank, you probably ain't gonna stand much of a chance. The newer battle tanks are pretty much impervious to an assault by a soldier, no matter how good they are. Unless you got an anti-tank missile, you're screwed, pretty much. So, we're looking at the reality of this. Here's a number for you, and I want you to drum this in your head, write it down, brand it on the mirrors at home so that everybody remembers this. Within the population, overall, you're looking at 2/3 dead or wounded. Now, that's going to be both sides. There would be two sides to every story if the other side was willing to take up arms. So, knowing that nobody ever wins a fight and nobody ever really wins a war, it's the one who takes the least casualties that is considered the winner. People die on both sides. And the idea of getting shot, I don't particularly care for. I've been on the combat field. I guarantee you, most people won't like the idea of being shot at. It ain't no fun, believe me. Now, that said, number 2, there are 3 principles involved in what I'm about to explain. This includes we the people, that's collectively all of us. The collateral accounts, as everybody has been hearing about, and the bankers or financiers. Those are the 3 principles involved in all this. And as I have said and stated several times, there's changes coming. Okay, these changes is what I'm offering tonight. And it's going to be primarily up to an involvement on the part of the people as to what we end up with. That will be explained when I start making these other points. What everybody wants, from what I can tell, is changes from what we have now to what we should have always had. Little things like freedom, not being screwed financially or otherwise, having some place to work, and getting enough out of it so you can actually, support the family, have a cold beer, maybe, take the kids to the park or something, or have some fun with them, or go to the movies or something. Simple stuff, nothing complicated, nothing extravagant. Oh, I know, there's some people who would take their whatever they got and go buy a big old CAD and try to style around like they're somebody more than what they are, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the average person. The people who are not considered necessarily conservative, but who are not extravagant either. This is sort of middle of the road, average people, just like me. I just happen to be a voice. Don't forget that. You know, the fun of it. The reality of all this has been expressed to me. And it's been expressed very, very concisely, very accurately, and to the point. As I've stated before, the bankers, financiers are looking to surrender. Now, so far, there isn't anything in writing concerning that to anybody. However, the points I'm going to offer deal with the question, and this is something you got to ask yourself. If the bankers, they were to surrender, give up, wave the white flag, we quit, what would we, the people, accept in exchange for that surrender? These things took me some time to list in terms of making sure that I covered as much as possible without being too detailed. People have heard of a plan called NASERA, National Economic Security and Reformation Act. Okay? This is the real one. This is the one that's buried and been hidden and folded up and put away so well that it's got a gag order on it from the Supreme Court. You cannot get the information unless, of course, you might be a flag officer in the Pentagon or a high-ranking political official that happened to just sort of, I think I'll put that one in my safe and hold on to it kind of thing. Basically, what NASERA does is it equals financial freedom. This is your debt forgiveness. This is the basis for an open economic system. Now, by that I mean nothing hidden. Banks, everything are open You can understand what's going on. No complexities or ring around the rosy of any kind.
Plugged into my laptop. It's got my custom graphics. It's got all my settings. It's got my colors, etc. It is exactly the way that I've set it up.
Another one is the National Economic and Security and Reformation Act states in it that it is looking at a specific tax. I have discussed this with people who are in the legal field, and I'm talking about a combination of common, admiralty, international, and other types of law. And the discussion came around to that tax, and the word tax might as well be a four-letter word. Everybody has enough of that swinging on their hemorrhoid that they don't want any more of it. And I agree with that. Now, so what we discussed was, how would you get rid of that? Well, that word tax ain't going to be acceptable to anybody. First Amendment to the National Economic Security and Reformation Act would be no tax. What this would involve would be user fees. In other words, everybody's been on a toll road. You pay $1 or $2 and you get to travel a certain distance. Okay? What I'm offering is that this would be designed on the number of travelers and the actual cost of the maintenance of the road. Nothing more than that. You'll find that in some cases, some of the tolls will go down. In some cases, they'll increase slightly. But what you're talking about is not having a 21% tax. I thought that was a bit extravagant. The only thing about that is that the number 21 stuck in my head and I couldn't remember why. So I started thinking, where does 21? Oh, yeah, I remember. I got a itemized bill once because I requested it. I said, I need to know what's going on. And they put it all in there real concisely. There's $21 and some cents federal tax on the phone I'm talking to you on. Well, what for? I mean, I can understand paying for 911. That's cool. If I need to use it, I got it at least. The phones basically work, so you got to maintain the wires. Simple stuff like that. And switching equipment breaks down or needs to be upgraded. Simple stuff. But where does the $21 comes in? Woo. Well, basically the federal tax amounted to about $18. I want you to think about your phone bill going down. $18. Because it's a tax that goes into somebody's pocket. It does not pay for squat. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about another thing that NESARA offers. Federal income tax. Bye-bye. Now, how much of a load would that help? If they don't buy an extra cold beer and some burgers for the kids, you need to change job to get something that pays decent. Okay, so, NESARA, as one of the things that people would accept, at least, okay, it is equal to financial freedom pretty much. Now, everybody has been asking about this and that, and what do you do with the rest of it? Well, one of the things I mentioned was you got to have a decent wage and a place to work. I offer that the release of all advanced technology will create jobs. The reason I say that is the collateral accounts you've been hearing about will be used to set up the manufacture and installation of these advanced technologies. This is $15, $20 an hour for people who want that much money. Now, I'm going to warn you about something. Very simple. If the people at 7-Eleven can't get $10 an hour, and most of them don't, you're talking about your Cokes, your candy bars, your cigarettes, and all that stuff going up a little bit. Now, cigarettes has got a lot of tax on them. There's some iffy things about that. Some of it goes to pay for people that smoke because they supposedly have extraordinarily greater health problems than somebody who doesn't. And I can agree with that. I'm a smoker. I'm in the process of quitting, actually. Now, I'm going to add some things to this. And that's called changes and additions. And I'm going to offer the first thing that's most important that I can see, and that's education and freedom for we the people. There are a ton of people out there that have no concept They don't believe this is real, and they don't want people bothering them about it. Well, I'm going to ask you to go bother them anyway. That's part of what this called. It's called audience participation. You get to ask these people if they would like to vote on these things. That's education and freedom. You need to learn how to do that anyway, because you're going to have 24/7 voting. We're going to get rid of some people and put some decent people in. Yes, you can find some people. They may not be the brightest light bulb in the world, but if they're so honest that they squeak when they walk or talk, I think maybe they might make a good candidate. And you can always give them an advisor, somebody who can explain things to them, how it works, and, help them read stuff that's got too big of words. And eventually you got something called an honest government and coming to government. That's the next point. Government. There's going to be very little of the Fed left. Why do I say that? Well, the Fed primarily is in control, supposedly, of everything. Well, they'd like to think they are, but according to certain people that are probably on this show tonight, listening, that ain't quite how it is. What are you going to need if the IRS disappears? Got a bunch of people that ain't going to be sucking up a government paycheck. What are you going to do when things are altered so that people can eat? What are you going to do when there is no tax base to run the federal government? Pretty much. You're not going to need much in the way of the Fed. Now, within this stuff, I've mentioned freedom. Now, returning to the original founding documents is part of the premise for this. 1787 Constitution, including the 13th original amendment, the Articles of Confederation, Bill of Rights, and, of course, that cute little document, Declaration of Independence, that screwed it all up to begin with. Then you got the factor that states regain control. We, the people, run the states. The states have the right to decide the limitations of the federal government, not the other way around as everybody has been programmed, brainwashed to believe. How does that work? Well, then you got institutional reform. You think the educational system teaches the kids how to go out and get a job or gives them any kind of job experience? I tell you no, flat out. A lot of high school kids can't read. I mean, I was amazed. So maybe we could alter the educational system so that by the time you finish 2 years of high school, you've completed high school. And the following 2 years could be a technical degree for an area that you like anyway. I want you to think about that. You, within the general education time limit, have created an employable individual. They have sufficient knowledge, and technical college, if anybody has not been, you get a certain amount of books, and you get a certain amount of hands-on. You have to learn how to be able to build things. You have to learn how to be able to figure out what's going on with a computer when it don't work right. You have to know the fundamentals of electrical engineering, basically, in the part that I took. It's called an applied science of electrical engineering degree. You learn these things. Okay. Fun games, but you come out an employable individual. You have a combination of hands-on and simple knowledge that can be applied to about anything. Okay. Now, every employer, no matter what field you're in, and it don't matter what degree you get, they're going to bring you in, they're going to say, okay, here's how our system works. And they'll teach you how they want it to be. And you do it their way, and everything's fine. No problem. So, education. It's just an example. There are a whole bunch of institutionalized things out there that need to be changed drastically. Okay. Here's the choice. Would people like to keep the banks open to eliminate the problems that it would cause if they were closed? Would people like to be able to understand that the government cannot print any more money because they're not allowed to? Interesting things to consider, yes? Absolutely. Then you go back to this other part where the banks have been stating that they know they got a problem They got their goodies in a ringer, and they got a guy that is like a pit bull that's going to crank their whatever's right through the ringer if they don't give it up. Well, I've been bothering people for a while, and I kind of come across a guy that is close to a friend of mine by the name of Neil Keenan. This is the icing on the cake. This dude's independent, but he follows Keenan around a bit. Keenan knows him. And by accident, he got what's called a hot tip. And this is basically the way it is. Everybody knows about the liens filed against the federal central banking system that we have. And those liens didn't seem to carry an extraordinary amount of weight. The judge didn't know if he had jurisdiction over that sort of thing. And so the whole mess was up in the air. Well, those things have been thought about. And this was in a casual conversation that this guy witnessed. Thinking, this is Neil Keenan. He's thinking of withdrawing the suit and refiling it. However, this time it's a little different. He will have the countries of Asia, all of Asia, the societies, both secret and not, and the families that control the collateral accounts filing with him. In other words, you got 15 countries going, I don't think so. Do add a little bit more weight to this. Now, I want everybody to think about this real close. I'm going to go back through these one at a time. Number one, the reality needs to be faced. You got a choice. All out war or not, which nobody really wins, and you're going to have two-thirds dead or wounded on both sides. Think about, missing two of your neighbors. And it could be. Number two, there are three principles involved. One is we the people. Another one is the collateral accounts and all that goes with those. And bankers and financiers. These are the three principles in this conglomeration that has been foisted on us through no fault of our own. So, we want changes from what we have now to what we should have always had, is what I get from everybody that's been talking to me. From what I get out of the chat room, people are tired of waiting. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to quit waiting here in a minute. The reality of all this has been expressed to me. I have conversations with several people of international importance, Neil Keenan being one of them, as to what's going on and the basic way it could best be addressed. Now, remember, brand is somewhere, put it right on the wall, make the wife made it, paint the wall. The banks and bankers are looking to surrender. They are done. The standing that they have had is gone. It's been taken away from them. Now, again, bankers or anyone affiliated with high financing to this, and I imagine they hope they are, they might want to consider the proposals that I've made and maybe put some in writing. Send it to the person you need to send it to. You know who that is. You know where that person's at. Now, to the military. Think about a peaceful settlement. Now, right now, we've got exercises going on like crazy where they're practicing to take out neighborhoods, extract people from houses, and take care of the problems of people that have been frustrated, thinking about using a shotgun on the first uniform they see. I'm going to tell you no. First of all, both military and civilian, no. Quit it. You don't got to do that if this proposal is acceptable. What do you want? What would you be willing to accept? Now, these are only part of it, but they cover most of everything. Financial freedom, jobs, constitutional reforms back to our original founding documents. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't get much better than that. NESARA is real. The act is required to come up once per year. It equals financial freedom in a very literal manner for each and every one of us. Also, release of all advanced technology. Now, there's some 800 patents and technology that has been hidden away so that we won't get all of it and not have to use oil anymore. Okay? The collateral accounts would be used to set up the manufacture and installation as well as see to our infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, you're down about 5% unemployment, if that. You want to have a livable wage? Think about working on a bridge. Okay? If you're in finance, how about help us straighten this out? If you know what's going on, we're going to need a load of CPAs just to figure out what happened with the IRS. Let alone all, look at the records. There's piles and piles of this stuff. This is an open, proposal to both the people, the military, and the bankers. The military can stand down, not worry about it. We're not looking at war. I don't think anybody likes that idea anyway, but I'm going to suggest don't do that. When you've got the situation that I've described, you return to the original founding documents. That pretty much covers everything that I can think of, including to the fact that you don't have to worry about the banks not being there. They will stay open. You don't have to worry about the boogeyman wanting to come get you in the middle of the night because he ain't going to be interested. And what I'm going to do is try to set up, through my friend Lady Dragon, a place where everybody can go and things will be listed that I've mentioned. And you have a yes or no vote. I'm going to tell you right now, forget worrying about your privacy. You never had any anyway. So that was gone some 10, 15, 20 years ago. They own everything, control everything, and are understanding of everything in terms of how it all works. They also sold to the government several hundred acres of mainframe computers, which all these signals go through anyway. So if they really want to listen or know who you are, they can find you. So forget that stuff. The only way, and I mean the only way, to get out of that is go live in a cave. Have no contact with anybody, and use a bow and arrow so you don't make noises when you have to shoot some game, eat something. Other than that, living in a cave or under a rock somewhere, forget it. You can be found. They already probably know everybody on here anyway. However, my suggestion, my strong suggestion, is this. The idea behind this came from some of the people I've talked to over the past few days, and actually about a week altogether. They expressed an interest to know what the people really wanted, what they would be willing to start out with, and maybe work from there. And whether or not there could be some sort of reasonable transition from what we got now to what everybody's been looking for. Financial freedom, jobs, true freedom. You're talking founding documents. This proposal is open. And it's open to the banks, military, people, and principals involved in all this. The page will be set up in such a manner that we'll record yes and no votes. If this is acceptable, yes. If you got some kind of a better idea, then we'll entertain that at a later date. This proposal is a now kind of thing. I just put it together this afternoon. Beautiful. After having a couple of long conversations both today and yesterday with people who are rather highly placed in terms of their considered importance by very different entities, people, financiers, some of these famous banking families that you know. So my proposal is that we vote on this. The proposal is very simple. Lady Dragon and I will provide a website link where you can go and vote on this. It will be to that link and that link only. It ain't going to be broadcast. It will not be made public. It will be between me and Lady Dragon. What we're looking to do is tabulate that. In other words, this thing will be open. We're going to have it up by tomorrow. This thing will be open to people who want to express themselves about these particular items. We'll tabulate this thing because it's going to be closed down as of noon Saturday, give or take. Noon will be a close figure. This will give us time to tabulate, look at what everybody thinks, and present the documentation of that to people who can actually take the actions we're looking for. Now, that last statement's a look. This thing, this summary of this polling, voting, whatever you want to call it, will be sent to the people who can take care of what we are talking about. And I'm going to put a big O if, and it's a big shag nasty hairy one, but if this is acceptable in basic principle, then the rest of it can be put in writing and actually agreed to. If you can imagine being a free people, a free country again, in like a month, maybe even sooner. This is what I am giving to you tonight on this show. The possibility, probability, and capability of we the people having a voice for the first time in a long time in the direction of our destiny. That you can actually be captain of your own ship. That you got a say in what happens, not just here, but the whole world over. Because as this changes, it all changes things for the rest of the planet. This is not something that people realize easily. This is a situation where many countries have picked up a whole load of information from us and are running with it. There are several countries that are attempting to do what we did, a bit different document depending on the country, but the procedure, the process is the same. Now, there's some things that go along with this that I will now give you that a lot of people are not aware of. Our actual and real national debt is about $1.2 trillion. That's it. The rest of it is owed by the corporation. Whoops. This time they get to buy lunch. Now, to go along with that, several other countries are very interested in partnering with a free country for several reasons. First, you're looking at extraordinarily high employment rates, not unemployment, employment rates. When you got people employed, they buy stuff. This will be good for everybody. The little companies that are struggling right now all of a sudden get busier and they can stand it. That means other people get to open a company if they really wanted to. I've been thinking about 10 years. Okay, George, go ahead. All right, Mabel. And off and down the road you run. It could be an axe sharpening service. Who knows? I mean, any little thing. We fix flat tires. Think of something, okay? Think about, and this is one of the technologies that I've known about for several years and could never pin down, but it was mentioned today in one of my conversations. We've got a lot of people out there that are missing limbs, either through war, accident, or whatever. This technology will allow you to regrow that hand, arm, leg, the missing part that you should have been able to have. This is the awesome biology, these technology. Do that, not today, stuff can. It's already there. In a couple of places I've heard it might even be being used, or it may have already worked the boat out of how to go about these things. I've heard rumors, but nothing concrete, and I tried to get to these people, and boy, are they locked up. I thought I was confined to the house with all the stuff that I get involved with, but these guys are they're underground locked up. How many veterans have got out there that an arm or a leg or a foot or a hand, fingers or something missing? I think it'd be great. Forget the prosthesis. Forget the spring legs. Forget the run around a rosy. grow a new one. I don't know how long it takes. No idea. Hopefully it won't take as long as it did for the first one. My understanding is it'll go out better than that. But the idea that you can have your arm and leg back, wow, that's one. I want you to think about not having to use the electric company anymore because you got free energy. Some people won't be able to get that in right away, so you're going to have maintenance on the wires and the bill and a certain amount of a bill coming through. But if that energy doesn't require fuel input, it's going to be pretty inexpensive. That same sort of technology can be applied to a car, where you create a field, a dynamic electric field underneath the car. You no longer have to have tires. You don't have to worry about having a flat, and you ain't going to touch the ground. Now, if you don't have any resistance to the ground, you're going to improve the gas mileage. And this would be if you were still burning fuel, 30%. 30% of what you spend goes just simply because you got a tire on the ground. Okay? And now take out the fuel altogether. The thing just comes along. In the wintertime, when you want a nice warm car, you click the button and it turns the heater on. By the time you get out there, it's nice and warm. Or if you happen to be in a nice sunny place like Florida or Hawaii or somewhere where it's warm, you hit the AC, and by the time you get out there, the car's nice and cool. Now, this is just a light overview. This is nothing real fantastic. Some of the technologies are extraordinary. Well, beyond what I've told you. But the idea of changing things, education and freedom for the people, so we understand our responsibilities. You've got common law, you've got a morality. Doing to others as you would have them doing to you. Your rights end where the other person's nose begins, and a fight is no way to settle a disagreement. What do you need to do? Well, simple. Somebody mediates. So you're going to have a few mediators around, I would imagine. And these are going to be people that are overtly honest, people that, even make a preacher. So very little of the federal government will be left. Return to the original documents, total freedom. Reform of institutions, such as education and things of this nature. Keeping the banks open don't sound like much, but first of all, not having a war with the people that own all this stuff, so you don't get shot at and you don't have to shoot anybody and there's no casualties or anybody hurt or dead. And the banks stay open, so you don't have any problems with the money flow. I think that's a pretty good deal, personally. So, this is basically what I have to offer. I've got Lady Dragon with me tonight. I asked her to join in with us, and she's very well aware. And we can make an effort for everybody to get to her website. Now, Lady Dragon, by what time do you think we can have something like this set up?
Hello, everybody. It's going to be very simple, so nobody can get lost. Just take note of this, please. LadyDragon.com is going to be posted by noon tomorrow. You're going to be able to go and on the index, just type LadyDragon.com, and there is going to be this. It's going to be said, Drake's proposal from Drake, please vote. That's going to be the title. And you're going to click on that, and there it's going to bring you to a page. And there you're going to be you're going to have some questions. You're going to have some questions, and it's going to be very simple, like Drake said. Let's say it's going to be very well explained. Drake's going to have a section with the answer at the bottom. And then I'm going to provide a specific email address called poll@ladydragon.com, which is going to be on the page, where you're just going to email your response. It's going to be very simple. The only thing you're going to need to do is the question in the subject line, and then a yes or a no, or a very, very short comment about this. So I'm going to compile everything, and by Saturday noon, it will be stopped, and then I will compile with Drake, and then Drake will come back and say the compilation of the thing. It's going to be very simple. So everybody has a chance to speak up and say what they want to do with the specific question that's been posed upon you tonight. But it's going to be more refined, so you can be very, very clear, very to the point, so you know exactly what you're answering about. So that would be very helpful for everybody. Drake.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is Minuteman on here? I was wondering if he might be or might not be. One of the things I'm going to do is put this out in terms of, would you like to vote on our future? A real vote with the real people that are really controlling it? And I'm going to put that out to a whole bunch of places. I've got some places that other people have trouble finding, but pretty much cover the nation. The reason I'm going to offer this, there you are. The reason I'm going to offer this is that the militias, the freedom people who want to have a say and never had the chance, can speak without pulling the trigger. I have been living under the gun since 1967 when I went first to war. I have not gotten out from underneath living under the gun, either against me or in my pocket. And I want very badly to be able to unload my gun and put it down for the rest of my life. Now, part of this, and this is something everybody needs to think about, part of what I'm doing here, what I'm offering, is an effort by these people to try to ensure peaceful resolution to do everything. Right now we got a itchy trigger for Iran. Well, why? Who says they can't have a nuclear fuel production facility, especially if they got peaceful needs? Who says that, and this is a big joke, by the way, who says Iran and Israel don't get along? Did you know that they are using the same oil trading platform that they are partners in?
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine the high gas prices. Now you wouldn't know where that came from. They're going to close the Straits of... Well, what did he do? Man, I don't know if you had listened to the first part of this, but
yes, sir.
We're setting this up, and I want to try to get as many people, patriots, and people who believe that they should be free, even if they're communists, involved in this as much as possible. And the reason I want everybody to do this, and the reason I'm asking you to do this, is that the results of this will be sent to the people who control it. These are the real deal. And you know some of the banking family names. I don't have to repeat them. You know some of the principals involved with them. Some of these people are my friends.
Right.
And I hold all of these people in a certain regard. Some higher than others, some better than others. Some I really disagree with the idea that they might be able to scoot out from under, but it depends on what they do, what they have done, and what they're willing to accomplish in terms of fixing it. This is real, folks. And I mean, this is absolutely real. I've got press contacts, and it's not as such open, mainstream sort of thing, but I've got press contacts where people go looking for stories. And there's a lot of little town newspapers that need filler material. And this stuff goes to a load of small towns out of this one little place that I go to. I post a little something in there, and oh my goodness, Timbuktu land in the swamp knows about it. I mean, it really shocked me. I did not know that that's what these people are doing. Then I found out secondarily that a lot of people who just want to know what's going on are members of groups similar to this. I mean, a lot of militias. I mean, a lot of people who are interested in keeping their ear to the ground so they got an idea as to what may be coming next, that sort of thing. So That's how important this is. There's a whole bunch of small towns. There's a whole bunch of big towns. There's a whole bunch of huge cities like New York, San Francisco, L.A., Chicago, New Orleans. It used to be bigger than it was. It kind of got, somebody did the laundry down there the hard way. But,
Yeah.
Minuteman, can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, sure. You know, I don't know why in the world any militia out there wouldn't want peace. I mean, look, folks, this is the way I look at it, Drake. It's a whole lot better deal than what we've had to live with for the past, 60, 70 years. And I agree with you. That's the question that everybody listening tonight really should consider. Just, look, everybody said they wanted somebody to come up with a plan. Well, here it is. Here's your chance. I know I'm going to be going in there and I'm going to be casting my vote. I want to be free. I don't want to pick my gun up and I don't want to have to battle anybody. I'm really a peaceful, loving man. Make no mistake, folks, because I'm peaceful and loving, it's the very reason I will fight if I have to. I thought that was the object of what we did as a free people, was to find ways to stay free without the fight. And I don't know what better of a deal that I've heard anybody present. It's a start, and you know, hey, even if we run up into quirks, because we all know that nothing's ever really perfect. Sometimes some things get overlooked, but you know, it seems like the meat's there. You know, the meat is there, and as long as you got the meat, I mean, something productive can come out of it. And man, I sure hope that most of the militias out there will, listening tonight, will listen to what I say. I know you don't want to fight either, guys. Come on. War ain't fun and it ain't pretty. And anybody out there, I know we've got a lot of our veterans that have faced war in the militia. I'm sure any one of them can say, look, Minuteman's telling it like it is and Drake is too. We don't want to be violent if we can keep from it. We don't want a war in our nation. We don't want to put our children through that. We don't want to put our families through that. Just think, folks, we get to hear about the wars in the news on TV. Just imagine that being in your backyard. I don't want it in my backyard. So, you know, I got to give you credit, brother. I really appreciate all the hard work you're doing, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it count.
I appreciate that. I'm asking everybody out there that's listening to this, that knows somebody, to get some replays, to spread the word. You got till Saturday noon to cast your votes. And it don't matter if you're listening to this right now. It don't matter if you're involved in freedom. It don't matter how much who you are. I can unashamedly say that this is the best that I can come up with so far. Now, I've been assured by certain people of high standing that these people will fight us to the last man. And that's sort of like trying to clean out the old provincial capital of Hue after the Tet Offensive in '68. A lot of my friends who were Marines didn't come back out of there. A lot of my friends that were in the Army didn't make it either. That ain't something anybody should have to go through for any reason. What I'm offering here is not an escape. There will be adjudications. People have committed crimes. However, what they do to help us, what they do to allow us our freedom, and even reaping some of the benefits. You're going to need banks to handle the money. Think about making more money than you need for once. That's what you're looking at here. Think about not having to worry about federal taxes. I mean, you know, some people, I paid several years in a row more federal taxes than General Motors did. And I wasn't making all that much. So, you know,
that kind of goes along with the show we had yesterday, Greg. We went into a few things that basically are coinciding with what's being discussed tonight. And that is, well, we're going to keep sitting around on the couch, folks, or are we going to get up and get it done? As Greg said, get her done. I myself, I'm tired of trying to do what I can in the 21 years I've been awake, and I see opportunity here. So I'm going to seize that opportunity and the hard work of many people out there that want to be free. And I'm going to join in with those folks because, well, I want to see that freedom through. I've got 2 children. Of course, they're not kids anymore. They're grown adults. Well, one of them just got married. Just last Thanksgiving. That means pretty soon, folks, well, I'm going to be a grandfather. And it's just getting deeper as it goes along. So not only do I want to worry about my 2 sons and what they have in their future, but my grandchildren is going to come along too. Break.
Do we have time for questions yet, Drake?
Hey, Drake. It is Kelly from Truth Finders Network. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I think that questions might be in order to an extent. Now, some of this information I'll warn you right now is superficial.
Okay, I have
a bunch of... It contains a whole lot of very intricate, private, and confidential information that I will not share. I will tell you that if you ask a question that I can't answer.
Okay.
Okay? Break.
I have a few questions that are coming in from the chat room. Number one, I just wanted to let everybody know because there was some confusion that this may have been recorded. So I am letting everybody know I am here. That's why you can hear my lovely voice. But some of the questions that are coming in is you've been talking a lot about a settlement. Before we heard about mass arrests and these arrests were going to come in and there was going to be a divine intervention and that all these people are going to be arrested. Now you're talking that there's going to be some type of a settlement. Can you elaborate what has changed from the mass arrest to a settlement? And how will they be held accountable when this is completely new from what you've been talking to everybody about?
Break.
Yes. Break.
Hey, Rick, this is Mr. B. I'd like to have some of these people start looking at who the members of the Virginia State Legislature are and start writing that down a future date when we ask them to send in letters to re-ratify the ability amendment, which will give us, that is the missing 13th Amendment, and we need them to send cards and letters in to the Virginia State Legislature for ratification of the 12th of March 1819 ratification that was done back then. And if you contact Mr. Drake or these other 2 people, I will mail you a copy of the 13th Amendment, which is missing, and they have my phone number where that you can call me, and I will mail you a copy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Drake, can you touch on the truth?
Well, we got one question already percolating.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between mass arrests and this proposed settlement.
Right. So you had to...
And basically what this deals with is the choice that these people are offering. We're offering a counter proposal that's at least equal to it, in my estimation. If they're willing to live up to the provisions I have stated, then I don't see a reason why we could not agree to this as a settlement. Now, I'm not saying that this absolves them of some of the crimes that have been committed. I'm not saying that at all. There will be some adjudications. Now, these adjudications, in some cases, probably will result in the death penalty, simply because there are millions of lives that have been wasted just for a profit, which that's a little more than I can take. And I don't think anybody should have to put up with them using our oxygen. Those won't be very many. The ones that can help us most in terms of straightening out this mess that has been made, which they say they can and would like to do. Now, that may be that they're just trying to save their butt. I would offer that instead of taking their life, they live in a FEMA camp for an extended period. I'm not going to say life, but that probably would be appropriate for some. Some may not go to jail at all if they are principled enough to really make this happen. Now,
adjudication for what exactly?
Hold on, everybody needs to understand this. When I say NESARA equals financial freedom, it does. And it's pretty all-inclusive. It doesn't leave hardly anything other than, like I said, the amendment of the tax so that you go to a user fee instead of a direct tax. That's a big difference. Then the advanced technology, that equals jobs. We got an unemployment problem.
So you want American citizens to go make the new drones? Is that the new jobs you're talking about? They're going to go work for the government contracts, and the 1% of the military are going to be the controlling factor?
Listen to me very carefully. The release of advanced technologies involves the technologies that we are not aware of even existing. I expressed a couple of those as an example. Those types of technologies released then can be used through the collateral account funds to set up manufacture and installation. Okay, and this will be very quickly done. You're talking a week or two before you got a facility running on these things. The just making a car not have to touch the ground anymore is not as complex as people think, but it's not as simple either. You're going to have to train somebody, teach them how to do it, and then go and train somebody else and continue that on down the line. As somebody gets trained, then you have OJT, where the person works with the person that does know how to do it, and so they become an installer. They become an engine remover, or someone who builds the machines that will technically allow you to regrow a limb. Those are just two. There are 600 to 800 or more of these technologies that will be made available. Our lives will change dramatically. Free energy.
Okay, so what about NDAA and NDRP and HR 347 and all of these things?
They have agreed to rescind those.
They've rescinded NDAA, and they rescinded.
They will. If the terms that I'm laying out are acceptable, the manner in which they are accepted rescinds a majority of the adverse legislation. Anything that goes contrary to the Constitution, basically. This has been explained before by several people, different places, different times, and it's hard to get your head around it. It's that simple, but that's the way it works. Next question.
Okay.
Do we have any questions?
So,
Paul?
Yes. What is the link again that Lady Dragon gave us?
Lady Dragon?
Yeah. She gave us a link to go to, and I didn't.
LadyDragon.com.
Oh, that's all? Okay, thank you.
So,
is that correct, Lady Dragon?
Last time we had spoke to you, Drake, you had talked about having a timeline and that the people would be notified of these arrests. So now you're saying that none of this is going to happen. So what are we supposed to do for people out there that have been waiting and you've been working this plan for, you've said that you've been at work at this for a very long time. And that you have this plan, and I understand that you're now working with Minuteman and RAM and a bunch of the other militia groups. But who is, is this committees of safety and committees of correspondence? Is this going back towards the militia? And because, I mean, the militias want peace. Don't get me wrong.
Thanks.
But when it comes to holding people accountable, it's not going to be singing Kumbaya, my lord, and having just a sit-in and just signing a contract and we're not going to do this, because this is really hard to understand. And I've got people over here in the chat room are just going, what about everything you've been telling everybody for months? You know.
I understand that. Now, I want everybody to listen up. You got a choice. All out absolute war or a peaceful transition. You're looking at 2/3 dead and wounded on both sides. Now, if you really like the idea of shooting people and getting shot, then you probably need to be sent somewhere where that's an acceptable everyday practice. I do not like the idea of making a deal. I'll tell you that right off the top. However, if these terms, are acceptable, and I'm sure that some of these people are listening, I was told they would be. If these terms are acceptable, they're not extraordinary in terms of letting everybody loose, getting a get out of jail free card, or any of that. There will be some adjudications. It's up to individuals who will be new to the jobs of Attorney General, among others, to make sure that those people who need to be and should be prosecuted for varying things get
what are we
prosecuted.
exactly supposed to be transitioning into here? We've seen, and we can see it day in and day out, that the drones, the technology, the NDA, NDRP, the whole alphabet soup squad is planning, not peace towards us. And now you're telling us through this new agreement.
Well, very simply, let's express it this way. What do you people want? Do you want them to continue getting ready to wipe us out, or do you want and have a full-fledged out-and-out war? Or would you like to go in under a deal that I've offered? Nasera is real.
Where are we going? Where are we going?
It's equal to financial freedom, whether people understand it or not. It is not my problem. I can make sure that it gets posted so people can read it if they'd like, as much as we've got of it. Now, you got to remember, you got a Supreme Court gag order. Everything has been expunged, all of the records of it, excepting the actual documents itself, and they've been locked up. Now, you tell me how you're going to get a copy. I can get you the basis of it, where debts are eliminated and other things are accomplished. And then you got the release of advanced technologies. But the collateral accounts.
So the cabal is still going to be in control. So you're saying that everything, the elitist Bilderberg, the whole corporate of America is still going to be in control, but we're going to have a peace agreement with them?
Oh.
Would it be possible for other people to ask questions here?
No.
Is it possible for other people to ask questions?
Is going out. The reason they are is because they owe the majority or a major portion of the national debt and cannot pay it. When that corporation goes bankrupt, which it will within about a week or so of the central banking system being attached, then individuals within the corporation are also going to be held responsible for some of that debt. So their personal fortunes will go, among other things. Now, that means that the corporation is done.
Okay.
Drake, I have a question. Yeah, I would like to know, I have a lot of respect for the militia, mainly, and I want to thank you for your service as well. Mainly for the fact that most of these guys have had their lives on the line. So I want to raise the awareness here that these are not a bunch of yo-yos out here that are, spinning their 6 guns in the air, shooting their foot off. You know what I mean? These guys they've had their lives on the line to protect us. So I want to give a shout out to all of them and just tell them thank you from the very bottom of my heart, because I've had a lot of military family and fortunately they all survived. But I would like to, my state, I'm raising the awareness to a much higher level of respect. And in that, what I'm trying to say is, we're working toward giving the militias a lot more teeth. I think it's about time that the left stop showing their butts with their accusations and everything about how they're all a bunch of inbred mountain people or whatever. These people have a lot of integrity. But I have a question. How are we going to deal with this situation with all the corruption on Capitol Hill? Are these people, I know there's certain people up there that want change for the better, so where does that leave them? And how are we going to...
I can answer that.
Well, it's very simple. The people that are doing things that are illegal are going to be adjudicated. Most of them are known, and they can run for cover all they want. They're not going to find it. The basis of what I have heard in terms of what these people are asking to do is to correct the mistakes that have been made by people wantonly doing what they're doing in terms of corruption, as well as assist us in becoming a free nation. And by free nation, I mean actually free of the hold they even have. Now, this includes a lot of the large corporations that are dirty. This includes certain things that are not considered kosher, and that would be things of the nature of mercenaries, large numbers. This is a part of the private army I was talking about, the hidden government deal.
Right.
All of that is going to be open, and it's all going to be out. So everybody can expect extraordinary changes. This is part of that change thing. Now, what I'm asking here is, what would we, the people, accept if the basis of these simple items are acceptable? Then the other parts of it go along with it, because I didn't come up with it. The people we have been arguing with came up with it. They want to make things better.
To me, it sounds to me like you're. Excuse me, I am speaking here. Can we have a little respect for one another? What I wanted to say was, well, I lost my train of thought, but this sounds more to me like a peace treaty, where there will be signatures of committees or whatever, or the militias or whoever it is involved with. So, and most times treaties are made to be broken. So I did believe in reprimanding and adjudicating some of the stars of the show. I am for that. I think we need to broaden our horizons a little more, though, and get this more out in the open. This does not seem to be out in the open at all. So how do we go about that, Drake? How do we go about that? He's going to give a shout out to the public of 300 plus million people, and how are we going to get their attention?
Record break, I can answer most of your question there, young fella, if you let me in.
Go right ahead, if that's all right.
Okay. 70% of the people that you want to do away with will be arrested by U.S. Marshals when we re-ratify the title of nobility. Will not be a shot fired. Excuse me. We will have the U.S. Marshals step in and take these people into custody. They will be brought before a magistrate for trial, and they can't hide behind, well, I was just following orders, because if you read history of the Nuremberg trials, you will find out what happened to those who just followed orders. Those that were in the minute job factor they will be set aside and given prison sentences or whatever is appropriate. Now then, if you want this here without a shot being fired and people being injured, I want you all to go and look and see who the members are of the Virginia State Legislature, because we need them to re-ratify the title of nobility amendment, which was originally passed on the 12th of March, 1819. Now, if you want this done, do your research and find out who these members are, and when we tell you to start sending your cards and letters in to these members of the legislature, because we want them flooded from throughout the whole United States, so that we can tell them this is what we need. We do not want violence. We want this done without violence, and 70 to 85% of this will be able to be done without a shot being fired. Does that answer most of your questions, anybody?
Yes.
Ray, can you please explain the two?
It does basically answer a lot of questions. I would like to address the lady that she seems to be a little hysterical a little bit, and I'm not trying to be mean, ma'am, but I understand your fear.
I don't have any
One of
fear.
the things is these folks have the upper hand. You know, they have contagions and everything else that they could release on the world if they want to, which at some point they probably will anyway.
No, that.
But we need to have a consideration in up front for all of mankind. If this peace treaty is actually put into place and is passed in Congress, and these people paid their dues, then I don't see any reason why we can't continue this. Okay. And we can all have an input. And that's all I want to say, Drake. Thank you so much for. How do I get back off of here? And I want to give a shout out.
*6, sir.
All right, thank you so much for your comment.
That's something people need to hear.
Please, there's some confusion. I just want Drake to simply explain what we're going to vote on. Please take confusion out of there. Number one, are we voting for Nasera and peace? And then I don't understand the specifics of, are we going to have an all-shootout war? Please explain that because confusion is coming in where we don't understand what we're voting on. Because we're voting Nasera, we know, okay.
Let me speak and I'll explain it. The choice is simple, okay? In terms of forces, basically the forces opposing each other are approximately equal in a lot of ways. Therefore, you're going to have about equal damage on both sides in kinds. Now, the other part of this is that's if you decide to go to war. If you really got to shoot somebody, kind of thing, or you're going to be stupid and engage the military. Now, I have been expressing that everybody in the freedom movement needs to understand that a majority of the military are on our side in this. Part of what I have given you tonight came from them. It was an indirect contact, but it came from them. Part of it came from the bankers themselves. And part of it came from both me and people I've talked to that are my friends who know this stuff. The basis of this is this, okay? This is not an entire treaty. It's not an absolute full agreement. There can be things added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided in this. This needs to be simply stated a yes or no. Do you like this idea of financial freedom? Do you like the idea of having advanced technologies, along with the jobs and all the stuff that comes with it? Do you like the idea of not having to go to war with somebody if you don't have to? And get your freedom at the same time? Ladies and gentlemen, I can't put together a cake much better than that. These are the things, these are certain stipulated points that have been given to me by a combination of the military and the banking families involved in this, along with some people who actually have the capability of making this real. What they requested was it would be nice to hear from the people on this. And I knew this show was going to be extraordinary because I know of a lot of what's been going on. I'm involved in it. In case nobody noticed, I'm up to my neck in it. And I also understand that a lot of people have gone out of their way to be ready for an eventuality that may not take place. But at least you're ready in case it did. Now, the other part of this is you have a choice. Either participate, which I'm hoping everybody in the mother-in-law does. Let these people know what we, the people, as far as we can reach, feel about the points made. Nothing is absolute, exacting this way or that way. Now, if they will accept these points as made, according to what they have said they would like to do, this fits. According to what the military would like to see, it fits. The only part missing is we the people.
Okay.
Collateral accounts.
Can I ask a question?
For the people.
Questions?
May I
Will there
ask a
be a
question?
financial settlement as well, since they've extracted all the wealth of the planet for the people of the United States and other countries? A type of financial settlement that people actually have money in their hands because of the situation that most people have lost just about everything.
I understand. The NESARA Act takes care of 99% of what you're talking about. There are a few things that ain't included in there that we may need to add. And I'm sure that these people will not be stupid enough to want to deny us something that we would go, that we would get upset enough about to actually want to go to war with them over. They don't want it any more than we do. They would like to have a peaceful transition to the right side of things for a change. And the reason for that is that they are up against the wall. They are offering surrender. They want terms. Here are some terms that I have heard from all three different sides that do fit. Questions?
I don't know if I'd call it a surrender so much as here's a carrot or we're going to blow you off the face of the planet. But we do have a lady that was trying to get in there with a question. Go ahead, ma'am.
So in other words, you're saying, Drake, that the bad guys and the good guys just want to know, we, the common people, do we want peace or do we want to continue with war? Basically, they just want to tally. That's correct, right? No other details involved.
And the points that I have put out are the ones that they are willing to agree to.
Regarding this era, they're willing to agree to this era. They just want to see that a lot of people, the common people, will vote for peace instead of war, which we're in right now, war. Thank you.
That's only one part of it.
Yes, I understand.
And to everything else.
Yes, I understand.
Go ahead, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question is, how can we negotiate with people that have been against the good for so long? And it's almost like that we're leaving them in control by settling things with them.
Well,
why can't we take our control back?
The difference is this. The points that I have brought up gives us our control back. It removes the capability for them to either have exercise or reinitiate that control again. It permanently removes that. This is something they were willing to agree to for one simple reason. They don't have anything left. They are out of money, as I've been trying to explain to people. They are in a position where they do not have any options other than to go down with a sinking ship or what I'm proposing. So, in other words, no, they're not all going to get off scot-free, and no, they cannot come back on us. And the reason being is that these things, I've mentioned a thing called the Eastern Alliance. Every day another nation is joining or partnering up with that. That is a separate system. And it separates out all these little countries that the big countries used to go in and plunder. They can't do that anymore. Now, the second part of this is that the stipulated points are what they want to hear from the people. Would NESARA be agreeable? Where you have a user fee only. No tax on, the federal tax on your phone is $21 and something total. Okay? Reduce your phone bill $21 a month. That ain't going to hurt your feelings, I hope. Federal taxes, is that going to make you mad? I mean, it's not, reverting back to our original founding documents gives you the basis legally of full freedom.
We not going to be controlled by the Crown anymore?
No. The Crown's already got so many problems that the Queen's looking at going to jail over some of the stuff she's pulled. Okay?
I guess I'm just to a point that...
These things, a lot of people hear me say things. Some of it's simple conversation with people who are in a position to be well aware of it, both financially and legally. And these are the people I deal with. And I would not have changed my tune, so to speak, from a let's go get them to this if there was not a good reason for it. And the good reason is simple. The choice is these stipulations are all-out war where everybody gets hurt. Almost everything gets destroyed, and we get to live in one of those apocalyptic after God smacks the earth down one time kind of world, road warrior type stuff. Or
how can that happen if the military's on our side?
Of our lives, and we're freed up in the process. And I know
I have a hard time trusting
get your head around. It was hard for me to understand. I had to really pin some people down and say, "You're serious?" And they said, "Yes." And I said, "My God." And they said, "Absolutely." Now,
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I guess there's no chance.
Yeah, Drake, this is Paul in Albuquerque. I was wondering what happened to possibly the government and the 120 days new elections and possibly putting in an interim president. What happened with all that?
Well, those people that are guilty of certain crimes are going to be adjudicated. If that means removing them from office, so be it. And there's a lot of them that are dirty, and they're dirty enough that they do not be representative of anybody, even themselves. So my vote is that they need to work all day in the hot sun splitting wood, so I'll stay warm this winter.
So is there a chance that who's in office now is going to stay in office and possible elections keep going if everybody decides to just stand down and make peace?
There's going to be some changes. Some of those changes are that when certain people are removed from certain offices, that office can't hold an emergency election. However, we're close enough to the elections that the opportunity is to put somebody like Ron Paul in, myself, pick somebody, okay, that you would trust in terms of making sure it comes out right, no matter what, and having the military back that person. Having the people, okay, you, me, and militias, and everybody that is freedom-oriented, insisting on nothing less than real performance for a change. That's the difference that we're looking at right here. Now, like I said, these are very basic, and these are preliminary proposals. I am pretty sure that if there is a positive vote to accept NESARA, that's financial freedom, the release of the hidden technologies, the ones they've suppressed and hidden away and whatnot, which creates jobs, and reversion to original documentation, which gives us our freedom. I like chocolate cake. I like lots of icing, and I don't know how to make one better than that.
Would that be a worldwide announcement to announce NESARA to all of humankind at the same time when it does, if the vote goes through?
Yes, that's a requirement of law when passed, or the act as such.
May I ask a question?
Thank you, Drake.
You're welcome.
Drake, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, a comment. I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, why wouldn't we want to vote yes? On the other hand, how can we be sure that they're going to stick to what they say they will do or not do or any of it? How are we going to know that this is all going to be enforced? What assurance do we have?
Well, the assurance that they do not want this war that's looking at them in the face.
Why not?
Well, because it's going to be just as damaging for them as it would
Well,
be
right.
for
They
us.
may not want the war, and of course they'd want to do this. But after we've agreed and all of that, how do we know they're not going to change their tune again?
Because they are, through these actions, stripped of the powers that they've had before.
Okay.
Well, sir,
They will be in custody. Most of them, 70% of them, will be in custody at that time.
That's
Hold
what's the
on.
missing piece for me.
Everybody listen, please. The NESARA Act strips them of their financial power, primarily. That's first. That's the majority of their power. Number two, the release of the advanced technologies can be beneficial to quite a few of the people that have been at one point involved in being against the people. Now they got a vibrant economy. Look at them at the phone. Hey, you know, that means almost sell more hot dogs or whatever, okay? Number three, you have reversion back to the original documentation that has already been completed to the satisfaction of the military. The military does not want to engage the population. Most of the military has stated unequivocally that they will not engage civilians, period.
Drake, who gets to see NESARA agreement?
You won't be able to see the whole thing because it's locked up. There will be a post in the near future as to what it is.
Will it go before Congress for a vote?
It goes before Congress and the Senate and the interim president. The one we got now is going to be removed if this is agreeable.
So then we will get to see the whole
But we don't
agreement.
get a chance to see?
You will be given a chance to see before everything's enacted, yes.
That's great.
This will be public knowledge as soon as I said, this is why I'm offering this poll and a vote so that we can start outing some of these documents. It was inferred, it was intimated, it's hinted that I might be able to talk one of these people who has a copy of it into putting it out for public consumption. And I'm going to see if I can hold that person to that agreement.
Well, that's okay.
They'll do that. They said they would, and that particular person I trust when they give me their word. Now, what you got to remember is that these lawsuits, that these collateral accounts, basically control the finance of the planet. They control all of it. They are not allowed to print money without certain accesses to the collateral accounts. This access has been cut off. They no longer have the capability of coming up with things. The families who own these banks and have been participants in a lot of the shenanigans are done. They are asking for a peaceful, negotiated surrender.
Okay.
Drake and the moderator. May I ask a question?
I have a question.
Thanks so much. Drake, I'm listening to you. I'm down here on the Gulf Coast. I'm James, and I've been listening to you for quite a while. And one of the things I want to say tonight is that you've given me hope, and this is a happy moment because I've never sought revenge, but I've always sought redemption. And it sounds like to me that there's the possibility of redemption for us to get back to the things that you shared with us. And I would just like to say, hopefully, that everybody is doing more listening than talking. And I want to continue to listen to you. I will be voting. I thank you so much for dealing with everybody tonight and all the different attitudes. And I just hope that we all will humble ourselves and listen to what's being said. I appreciate what's being said, and I look forward to NESARA. I'm very familiar with NESARA. I'm very familiar with the whole thought of redemption. So I'm looking forward to voting, and I hope that everybody, you can only trust someone if you want to trust them. If you don't want to trust them, then you're not going to trust them. So the thing is that I see in this, Drake, and you correct me if I'm wrong, what you've given us is the ability to support you and support those who are fighting for us. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
I have a question.
Okay, we got one more question, and then we're going to take a break and just catch a breath and go use the restroom, get a soda, whatever. We got one more question. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, Drake. My question is that a little bit confusion. I am all about forgiveness, and if these people are really, like crying uncle, so to speak, saying, let's make the transition peacefully, I'm all about that. But how? What is all this talk about war? If that's the case, because if they are out of money, how can they go to war? How can there be a war? And that doesn't jive with everything we've heard for the last several months about how these people are done and we got them by the short hairs and New World Order isn't going to happen. I'm confused about that, and I'm also confused about the fact that I have a family of 8 members that have just gone against me because I have learned the truth and taken a stance and unplugged from the crooked system. And I live basically from, on $89 a month on food stamps and no income whatsoever because these people are crooks and have stolen every single dollar you have, and I refuse to perpetuate their system. And the question I have is, my own family won't talk to me. How can I instantly go to them and say, listen to this and go vote real quick on how to make freedom for everybody? It's too much too fast, and I'm really confused on how I can communicate to the people who really need to hear this and who really need to get to the crux of it all as to how it's going to be good for them to go and vote. I'm really I'm all about NESARA. I think NESARA is the greatest thing ever, and I've been waiting for 20 years for this. But I cannot tell people in my family who barely even talk to me anyway, much less strangers, to go and vote for this. Can you give some light on that, and how can these people go to war if they have no money? Thank you.
Okay, they got ammunition and they got a full tank of gas, and it will take them far enough to cause an extraordinary amount of damage. There's also a thing called missiles, in case you haven't heard of those. As far as your family goes, I got a lot of people that I know that won't talk about this simply because of what I have to say. Now, I don't come right out and say, ooh, NWO, or any of that. I try to have a normal conversation. And they have heard me talk about this before. Consequently, they don't want to listen. Well, that's fine. They will get a rude awakening when this happens. And then they're going to be wanting to talk to you.
Yeah,
some
that's
people,
that point.
And it doesn't matter what you're talking about. It could be saving their soul or giving them a job. Can't hear too well. That is not your problem. If you don't know anybody outside your family, then you're kind of stuck with it. If you know anybody outside your family whom you might talk to, see if they'd be interested. Ask them. If you're interested in voting on freedom, here you go. Bingo.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Are we ready for that break?
We are ready for that break. We are definitely ready for that break. We knew that this was going to be a firecracker program, and that's exactly what it has turned into. Everybody take a deep breath. Hold it, let it out. Okay, let's relax. And this is a Global Voice Network Drake and Company program, simulcast on the Truth Finders Network at www.truthfindersnetwork.com. Okay, we're done with our break. I hope everybody had a chance to take a breath, settle down. We do have a couple of questions were queued during our last song, and We have people on the Truth Finder network. They are burning up the chat system there. They have virtually crashed the chat system on the Global Voice network. So I guess I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board on that one and add a few more servers to it. We do have another call-in number. That is 805-399-1200. That is access code 153938. One more time, 805-399-1200 and access code 153938. There is a chat system available on truthfindersnetwork.com. They are simulcasting this program, and we are doing a Drake and Company. Now, Drake, I'm going to give it back to you and let you turn it over to Grammy, I believe, who had that question.
Yes, a beautiful lady.
Thank you, Brother Drake. I love all of you very much. God bless you. I only need a couple minutes. There's a little confusion about what you're saying. I would like to say that one of the things that Drake is in short trying to say is that mass arrests have not taken place yet for a very good reason. The good people are trying to reduce the chances of war and bloodshed because it sounds like it is possible to negotiate with these horrible, evil people, which is going to break them financially, which is going to take away their power, which a lot of you are misunderstanding, and it's going to return the power back to we, the people of the world. And the bad people are still going to face a punishment, and some of them will be executed. We need to get up off our butts, and we need to go to www.dragonlady.com, and we need to vote before Saturday, because when she pulls that down, her and Drake are going to let the good people know, the ones that are helping to set us free, they're going to let us know what your will is and that you want to be free. And this is our chance to make our statement. That's all I got to say, brother.
Thank you. I believe there's another caller who wants to add something about war.
Excuse me, people. It's LadyDragon.com. Hello?
LadyDragon.com, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Jim, are you there?
Okay, I'm unmuted now, right?
I think you be.
Okay. My real name is Jim Lovell. Some of you may recognize me as Jim from West Virginia.
Hi, baby.
I do. My parents dropped me through the rabbit holes in 1965, and known about this since forever and a day. Not Nessera, but the original plan back in the 70s from the dark side was to inflate all the world's currencies at the same time, and then when people cried out for gold currency, they'd be gold standard, they'd be sitting on the gold. Now, this whole deal about the war, they have been telling people everything, lies. Everything they say is a lie almost. Oh, you'll have a pension if you stay in the military. Oh, you sign on with ROTC, you'll have a $2 million pension. It won't be there. But there's a percentage of people who still believe it. There are a certain number of their minions, I'm sure, who think, yeah, the system's right, and I'm defending whatever they're defending. I don't know. But they still have the ability to make war. And the deal with these people with the uniforms, don't not understand, and this tears me to shreds, is they're disposable. The whole idea is to kill off as many people as possible, uniforms or not. And with that, I'll kind of bow out.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Thomas. Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Good evening, Drake. This is Thomas Ford of the House McFadden. Drake, one of the issues that very generous and kind, loving, peaceful man has been working very hard on is identifying the CAFR accounts, which are basically the comprehensive annual financial reports. And that man is located on Arizona, up near Prescott or Paceland, California. And he's been doing this now for, I think, about 22 years. And he's also tied with a couple of gentlemen who are members of the American Board of Forensic Analysis. That amount of debt instruments or assets or credits, whatever you want to call it, he is identified as 119 trillion, that is trillion, credits, debits, Federal Reserve notes, United States dollars, whatever you want to call it. That is every county, city, state, police department, school district, comprehensive annual financial report, the other side of the books, that they're holding as their reserve account. Now, the next thing is the American Depository Receipts, which I'm sure everybody knows them by another name. They're known as birth and death certificates, marriage certificates, and any other type of certificate that's issued by a register of deeds on any county, city, or state that has a registered seal stamp on there. The American Depository Receipts are held by Bank of New York Mellon, which are holding 25.8 trillion Federal Reserve note dollars or credits or debt instruments or whatever you want to call it. So collectively, you're looking at about $146 trillion being held on the private side of all of those assets. Now, many people on this call don't realize that one thing happened to them when they were born, and only one thing one time. Their feet touched a piece of paper and created their estate. That estate has been amassing a large amount of credits. It's basically an unexpired, it's a lease. And what I believe your process is doing, and I'm working with some other folks too, is that there's a termination of lease taking place. You no longer have the right to use my identity tied with the military-industrial complex. Therefore, I'm collapsing the trust. I want the res, and I want to live in peace. So therefore, this is the way that we can do this, whether they want to call it NACERA or American Depository Receipts. You can type into Google ADRs, and it'll pull up Bank of New York Mellon. Everything I'm telling you is 100% truth. I've been doing this for 34 years, and we've spoke a couple times before, and I'm connected on the backside to multiple people that you know, as well as I know, that they know, that you know, that I know. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you tonight. I want to also commend you and thank you for bringing out this on this day that is the commemoration of the invasion of Normandy Beach, that we should give praise and grace to all those wonderful people who gave their lives so gallantly for us to be free. Now, when you start to realize the amount of research that one has been doing here, along with others who have been immersed in this, and you have a chance to read a book by Greg Hallett called Adolf Hitler Was a British Agent, you'll realize, and you'll come to realize, that the most diabolical group of people on this planet who need to have a complete paradigm shift in their thinking, because they need to be surrounded with a white light so they can come and evolve themselves out of being the most diabolical people on the planet, and that's the people that are occupying Buckingham Palace and the Tavistock Institute. Not only was Hitler a British agent, but so was Stalin and a few other people. So with that said, I would highly recommend, if somebody wants to really open their eyes to what happened in World War II, which this day commemorates, because this is June 6th, this happens to be my father's birthday, who also landed on Normandy on his birthday, beginning of D-Day in Europe, and the invasion that put a stop to Adolf Hitler, which in essence, the real problem was, it was all planned years, many, many, many years in advance, through the Tavistock Institute with the Germans and the British, and they're all buddy-buddy friends, but they allowed, 41 million people, men and women, children, to be murdered and massacred and put in the concentration camps. So all I say is that we know what they've done. We need to surround them with a beautiful white light so they can come to an internal cleanse for themselves, so they can be redeemed, if that is possible in their lives, in their consciousness. As the Pale One talks about in the great teachings of the Cherokee tribes, these people know what they've done. At some point, they're going to wake up and look in the mirror and realize what they've done to not only mankind, but also the planet. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much for letting me speak, and you have a wonderful night.
I'm going to add something else here from a wise old veteran. If the bad boy, there are some revolution needs to here we go around again, because the government gets too big and people overthrow it. The question is how violently, and you study the Greek city-states, some of them it was really bad. The worst ones were when the military believed the regime and stuck with the regime and it was bloody. The least worstest were the ones where they stepped aside and the military realized, now we already have the military stepping over to the civilian side. Now, if the bad boys really do have access to all our communications, and I know personally from a few experiences, plural, that they have an immense ability to collect intel, they're quite aware that people all over the world know that the banksters are the bad boys. They're kind of like Mubarak in Egypt, who got out ahead of time. And I think there was a guy who ran Argentina who got out in a helicopter, if memory serves. They see the torches approaching the castles, and they want to get out alive. That's the way I see it. Now, I have no special inside intel, and I'll back out again.
I got a question.
Okay.
What makes you think you can trust them? If they're so adamant on avoiding this, why don't they come out prior to it? Make one of the stipulations make prior to us signing this, because my fear for signing this, I don't mind signing it, but everybody that signs it, they have total access to it. It's so easy to pick it up and say, here's all the people that sign this, here's the militia, here are the people that are going to either take war or not, round them up, put them in the FEMA camps. You can't trust anything they got. If they're going to be trustworthy about it, make them announce the NESARA.
Well, that is part of the plan now. What you need to do is go to the archives and listen to my addressment of the troops. It made it worldwide to all of our troops, and it made it to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This is basically that the military is not to engage civilians, period. It's in the field manuals and the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Yeah, I listen.
They all have agreed to this. Some 80+% of the military agrees to this. Okay, number two, were something untoward, something nasty, and I'll say it, it's called martial law, they're coming to get you. 99% of them said they'd go AWOL as soon as that was declared, to include overseas. They already have means to get an airplane ticket home.
I need Lady Dragon's exact site again. We're typing it wrong.
Okay. Randy J, we can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Is that ladydragon.com?
www.ladydragon.com?
I believe so. Lady Dragon?
Yes, it is that. Ladydragon.com. Yes.
There you go.
Bless you. Thank you.
Okay, now, here we have some people that I've dealt with before that have been on here that know me fairly well. They also know that I'm not a fool. They also know that I do my homework. Were I to come up with anything as extraordinary as what I put on this show tonight. For that reason, I'm confident in what I've offered for varying reasons. One is that parts of it comes from different points of view of the people involved in it. We, the people, want our freedom. That's in there. We need to have financial freedom, not only for us, but for the country. That's in there. Then we want to see these advanced technologies and the reduction of wasted talent with no jobs. And that's in there. Those are the three basic items. The other thing is that for the first time, there may be the option of doing a peaceful transition from what we got now to what things should have been, as I've stated before. So these are the considerations. It's not difficult. These things will be listed on that page, and everybody has a yes or no. And the more people, the better. But mostly, the people I'm most interested in involving in this is the militias and the freedom movement. And I do mean all of y'all. If you got to go borrow a computer, have somebody help you do it, that's fine, but do so. We need to hear your voice. Not only do we need to hear your voice, but those other people involved. That's the people that have the collateral accounts and the bankers. They need to know that they might just skate with their lives. Depends on which ones, but most of them, yes. And like I said, some of these ideas ain't mine. They come from the banking families themselves. These are the people that own the Federal Reserve. They're up against the wall. They don't have a choice, and they would like to be able to survive it instead of having an all-out shooting war.
answer my question. I sure appreciate it. And I've been a follower of yours for a long time, so I just got to convince some of these other people that what's going on and get them in there to get them to vote.
Well, I just want to make sure that I'm not being asked to vote for something that I can't read because it sounds too much like what Obama asked the Congress to do with Obamacare.
They can read it.
First of all, I ain't the right color in my everything that big, so, no. Secondly, I'm going to see whether Lady Dragon can't post the history of Nasara that I have. I got a copy of that somewhere in my computer that I will try to send to her. So if you want to read it, it should be available there. If not there, just do a computer search, history of Sarah, and it should come up. It goes all the way back into the 1800s. It's a very real deal, and it's pretty concise in what it states and what it does. It allows most of what's been done financially.
Are you showing both Nasaras, Drake, or just one?
I'm only showing the real deal. And the only close copy that I have found is the history of Nasara. The one that is incorrect is the one that's out and about right now. This is the one the government would like to have because it continues. Okay, and I want you everybody to, hang on that word. It continues the mess that we already got.
Drake, are we going to go back to the gold standard?
It's going to be a complex financial system. It's not going to be simply precious metals. It's going to be a combination of things.
But it will be asset-based, right?
It's a yes and no, both in combination.
Okay, well, let me ask you, are they still planning on the revaluation of all the currencies?
Well, that may or may not be necessary, depending on what it is that we decide by this vote and whether or not it's acceptable. We may be able to continue to some extent with what we have.
Okay,
so we may not have an RV of the dinar then.
Well, no, I didn't say that. There have been some investment of revaluations happening here and there already. So, you never know. Now, there's a good Nasara, that's the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and the bad one, which is out and about, National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act. That's a continuation of what we got now. This is what we want to get away from.
I can provide a copy of that and let people judge for themselves if that's a continuation of what we have now, because it isn't.
Yeah, well, okay.
Okay.
Drake, are we going to have the fines and penalty packages?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not aware one way or the other on that because I've been concentrating on that.
It'd be nice to know that one.
Drake? And it would also be nice. It would be nice to know if those are actually of any real value and whether or not they really contain what they say they do.
Oh, okay.
Drake,
if I may add something too, in the past there have been the banksters getting them together from all around the world, and they do a currency revaluation. Okay, we're going to hold this, and this, that. It happened in the 70s and the 80s. I can't remember it, but there's so much in my junk in my brain, I can't remember any of it anymore. But the bottom line is that all currencies will find their own natural state. Like, for instance, right now in different countries, there's the official exchange rate, and then you can go on the black market and find out, oh, this currency is worth more than that. So there is a natural revaluation of currencies in a free market.
Okay. I've got a question.
Drake, may I ask a question?
Hold on a minute, we got one coming, and then you're next.
Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second. Okay, now, if these guys are serious about being willing to work a compromise, what are they willing to give up as a show of good faith? I think that the general public has been lied to, has been manipulated and controlled for long enough that we're obviously skeptical of making a deal with the devil. And yes, I will use that term because they have been for centuries the devil. Okay, what are they willing to give up as a show of good faith to prove to us that they are willing to work with us?
Okay. That's something that will be a part of the offering of this as a possibility. That's what this is. This goes directly to the principals involved, and if they are basically willing to abide by what's in here, then it's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of not being able to do what they have done ever again.
Okay. All right. Now that's
basically what the set is of this.
Okay. Thank you, Drake. Now, next question. Go ahead.
Hello. I'd like to ask about the chemtrails, the fluoridated water being removed from public water supplies, the GMO labeling, Monsanto. Are these questions that can be used on this poll? And also, I'm very concerned about the return of treaty land to the original nations of indigenous people on this continent, and I wonder where that fits into this whole picture.
Okay. The things that are adverse to the better health of both us and the environment will be done away with. That's first. That should answer most of the questions on chemtrails and water additives and things of that nature.
How soon can they get rid of them? That'd be a good show of good faith.
Well, okay. Yeah. The reason that this is being offered is to see how real these people are. I want everybody to kind of understand that. They have intimated to certain of my personal contacts that they are serious about this. Now, one of the things that they don't want is to be looking out the window and have all the torches coming toward the castle. A lot of the people that are involved in militias, freedom groups, etc., are experienced military. We know how to be close in the woods, and they don't want that. Surprise attack would decimate them, and they know this. We do know where they live, and they don't have a battalion of men around their house, believe me. The simplicity part of this is that they first came to us after certain actions were taken. By us, I'm going to include personal contacts. That makes a big difference. The fact that they know that they are in trouble, big time, and the fact that they would like to rectify things, this is part of what they said, in such a manner that there can be a peaceful transition to a better system overall, means that, first of all, their finances have been cut off. Neil Keenan did that with his lawsuit. Secondly, they are up against what's called the Eastern Alliance, which is all of the unaligned nations. Everything outside of about the G8 are now can stand opposed to them because they have their own banking system. So what you've got is a situation where it's a win-win primarily for us in terms of these specific points. Now, these specific points are only bargaining chips. The results of the poll gives weight to what the people believe, how they feel about these things, and if they want them or not. So we have other bargaining leverage that these people have not come up against yet, that they are not fully aware of. Now, I gave that at the beginning of the show, and this is from an independent source close to Mr. Keenan, who holds the legal lawful rights to the control of the collateral accounts, and I do mean all of them. He gave me a tip that Mr. Keenan was thinking about withdrawing his lawsuit and refiling it with the backing of all of Asia, all of the secret societies and families involved in the collateral accounts. This means you're going to have about 20, 30 nations that are going to say, okay, dude, you're stuck up.
here's how it is. And they know this is coming, and this is why they're looking at surrendering. They would like to keep a little bit of what they've stolen over the years. And if they're willing to help rectify this, and they're not willing to shoot at us in the process, and are, held to these legalities. NESARA is an act. It is a legality. The release of the technologies is the icing on the cake. But going back to the founding documentation, this means we're a free people.
Okay.
I have a question.
That's right.
I'm curious. Before we were talking about news and TV and television and having all the information put out there of the bad guys doing who was doing what and having them prance across in front of the TV and just really letting everybody know exactly what has been done to them. Is that still going to happen so that we can identify people? I don't trust them.
Okay. Everybody is going to come out in the open, fully, and that includes me. Basically, this is, if they agree to it, that they are admitting defeat, and they are also giving us legal authority to exercise the original intended freedoms we were supposed to have had. This will be reinitiated. In other words, you're talking about the rebirth of the nation. You're talking about doing this without having an armed conflict, which I think is outstanding. They don't want the armed conflict because there'd be too heavy of losses, and we might get to quite a few of them. And they're worried about their own butts. They don't want to get their necks stretched by getting hung. They do not want to see the electric chair. And they don't need firing squads. What they would like to do is at least be allowed to breathe. Now, some of them, like I said, there will be some that ain't going to be allowed to breathe. Some of them are going to get life in prison. But, depending on how much they help, maybe that life might turn into 10, 20 years. And yet, that which they have stolen, how are you going to keep it if the other thieves know that you're in jail?
Well, then, it sounds to me like you're saying that they just want to surrender peacefully or what have you. Then why do we have to vote on anything? Why don't they just surrender, get the hell out of the way, and let us move on with recreating our country?
Because they are concerned that we're going to come after them in a military fashion. All of the freedom people, militias, everybody that law enforcement, everybody that doesn't agree with them that's in the military, and they don't want all those people after them. What they're looking at is saving their own butts. Just that simple. Okay. But in terms of a surrender, they still do have some power. They're not altogether done, and it'll take a little bit too much time, in my opinion, to wait that out. So, what I'm looking at is that instead of closing the banks, how about we keep them open? Instead of having a shooting war over this, how about we agree to terms so that we can continue without too much interruption in our lives? How about we fix it, NESARA Act, okay? How about we fix it, release of technologies? How about we go back to the founding documents and reclaim our freedoms? These are the basic talking points. If they agree to these, that means that there may be other things that they would be willing to sacrifice in order to mitigate their sentences. You know, maybe a guy doesn't want to be hung, and maybe he needs to clean the latrine in the FEMA camps the rest of his life. There's your choice. Which is it? He'll clean the latrine, I guarantee you.
Drake, will they be zeroing our debts when this goes through? Personal debt.
If NESARA goes through, I don't know if you read the reports of the lawsuits concerning the indebtedness and the fraud that was perpetrated upon ranchers and farmers.
Well, I'm talking about mortgage debt and stuff.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. Because they had been fraudulent in those actions, they were also convicted of fraud in terms of banking in general. And the reason I'm telling you this is so that you have a little something to base this on. You are the originator of the credit, not the banks. That is the difference between reality and the Ponzi scheme. That's the difference between what is now and what NESARA offers.
Well, we're all the beneficiaries, Drake.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay. Great.
Drake, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure. Actually, I've got three, and I'll be quick. One is, sir, are we going to go back to an equity-based currency or a debt-based currency?
It's going to be equity.
Okay, my second question is, and we all know that a snake sheds its skin, but when it's all said and done, it's still a snake. What's going to prevent them from slowly, generations from now, to not go back to doing the evil things that they've been doing?
Because they don't want us hunting them down.
That.
Because they don't want us hunting them down.
Okay, and then my last question is...
That's their basic alternative, and they know it.
My last question is this vote depends on all of Americans from sea to shining sea. Why isn't this vote being publicized for all Americans to vote on?
It's going to be. I haven't got that far yet. Man, you had a question?
Well, I haven't got a question, but I can elaborate on that man's question of what will keep them from doing it again. It's personal responsibility. Have a Second Amendment right in this nation that has a completely different meaning than what we've ever been taught. And that is the Second Amendment. It's about a well-regulated militia. That right was given to each of us as God-given rights. That means that if everybody will learn about that right, stand up, and learn to put their militias back together again, make them community-oriented for the safety of the people, then, well, it pretty well says everything that you need answered. You'll have your militia units back in order again. They'll be functioning, and they'll be, taking care of people's rights like it's supposed to do. So once we've turned the tables and the militias are back in order again, it's going to be real hard for them to bed again. I can guarantee you that. After what we've seen as Americans happen to our rights, if we're foolish enough to put down the Second Amendment or let it get diluted again in our history, well, I don't know what to say. I know that my son stands with me on what I do, and that is to teach people about militia and what the real cause is, what the real function is in this nation. That's to guard the community. It's to take care of the community and to make sure people's rights aren't trampled on. So I hope that answers your question a little better. It's going to take personal responsibility again. We can't be laid. Look, we all laid this on the government. That we all chose to believe that they would keep our best interest in check. We found out that it wasn't the case. So what I'm saying is we take a bad lesson learned and turn it into a pumpkin pie or a chocolate cake. And like Greg said, I like chocolate cake too. German chocolate. But anyway, that's what I'm telling folks. You know, when you get your freedoms back in check, well, we take care of them after that. And that will keep them from ever doing this to us again.
Okay, now I want to give equal time. Just a minute, everybody. Hang on. If you got questions in the conference call, just hang on for a minute, take a breath.
Okay.
We will get to you. I have got a number of questions that have piled up in the queue on the Truth Finder network, and they only have one channel to get in here. So I'm going to give it to Kelly here and let her enunciate a couple of those, and then we will go back to calls from the Global Voice Network chat line.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. I've been waiting patiently. There has been, for the last 2 months, there has been training on the new drone technology, the Sidewinder and the Kamikaze drones. I had received calls yesterday from a number of people that are active duty that have been relocated to finish up the training that is currently being trained by DHS. And they're talking about real life, drones that are going to come in and destroy us. And I know a lot of people get really upset about all this stuff. But with this type of training actively going, that they are on complete blackout. They are not allowed to have cell phones, cameras. They're not allowed to have any contact with their family. They were given 12 hours yesterday to contact, make mortgage payments, car payments, child payments, house payments, whatever. And then we will no longer hear from them for another month. This is the training that's going on right now. So with this type of training going on, why should we trust this new deal in the cabal that they're just going to rescind NDAA, NDRP, and all of this going on when this is confirmed that they are currently on blackout? Any of the sites that you've been able to search before to get PDF files and training manuals and to see what they are doing have been blacked out on the internet. This is stuff that is happening, and now you're talking about making deals with these people who have no intention of making a deal with us.
Well, there's a problem with your reasoning. First of all, the military is under control. And by that I mean they have a controller. Secondly, the people that control them are the ones that are offering this possible surrender. This is why I'm doing this now. If these terms are acceptable, all of this training, blackouts, fun and games will quit. If it's not acceptable, then I'd tell everybody to oil up your gun and get your ammo out.
Okay.
Because we're going to have a war. Just as simple. And this is basically the choice both of us have, both their side and ours. Basically, neither one of these sides wants to have a shooting war.
No, we don't.
But, okay, well, what I'm saying to you is that what they don't know about us, in terms of some of the people that I have been dealing with, is the capabilities and armament that these people have. They're going to find that their Air Force is going to be negated, and so is their armor. They're also going to find that some of these so-called Star Wars weapons that they would love to have are in our possession and fully operational. I don't want to do all this. I don't think it's necessary. That. No, hold on a minute. Listen very carefully. I don't want to do this. I don't think it's necessary. I am offering this so that we can find out a few days, basically I'm saying a week or two maybe in advance of the possibility of what you're talking about. We'll know what's going on. Okay. If these people accept that agreement, then the first request or requirement of them is to have everybody stand down and send them home. You don't need that training if you're not going to do that.
Okay, because I personally received...
So you'll be able to... Here's the deal. Everybody that has capability of looking at this will all of a sudden see that people are going home. That the websites where they had these manuals and things that we can't get to right now that are blacked out, as you call it, all of a sudden are open back up. Don't need to hide anything if there's nothing going on behind the scenes. Sure, they're trying to make plans because they feel that the shooting war is right at the edge of happening, and it is. Okay, I want to try to prevent that.
Exactly.
I've been to war. I don't like it. If I ain't got no other choice, then that's what I'll do. But this offers the possibility of a choice. The reason I'm saying that it does is because the people that control the military-industrial complex, the people who own it, are the ones asking for a peace agreement, maybe, a surrender of sorts, where they quit doing what they're doing and turn it around. We then can relax a little bit. And that don't mean put your guns away necessarily. That don't mean don't be watchful. Be watchful, because I don't trust them all that much either. But if the principals go to the people that I talk to and request this, then you've got some kind of foundation for what's going on. Yeah, they would like to trick us, sure. The only trouble is that they have been pretty much put trick bag themselves this time. We did it to them before they had the chance to do it to us, and that really scares them. There are a bunch of people.
But my thing,
I mean, high-level people that are scared to death that we are going to come hunting them right now.
Okay, Kelly has one more question. Kelly's got one more question. Go ahead.
The thing is, we know that this training is currently happening, and I personally have a lot of friends and family that are in the military that were contacting me nonstop yesterday, telling me not to worry about them because they're being moved to remote locations to finish the training. But if this is the plan and they want peace, okay, we need to know, is this training going to be used against us? And if they're working towards peace, then why would they continue on with this training? Why wouldn't they show good faith, as you put it, and stand down now to show a willingness for peace and not continue on the destructive and violent behavior and the way that they're going about things as we currently speak? That's where, you have a whole plan. Now all of a sudden you're saying that we're not going to go arrest them because we've struck a deal. Where's all this?
I'd like to add to that question just a little bit. I mean, if you had said earlier that 80% of the military is on board and will not fire on the citizens, and if 80% of the military wouldn't fire on citizens anyway, who exactly are they training, and where is the threat going to come from?
I can tell you exactly who they're training. I've had plenty of military.
Hold on a minute, guys. It doesn't really matter, and I'll tell you why. They're getting prepared because they think we're coming after them no matter what. This is why they decided to ask whether or not they could make a surrender in the manner that I've described, okay? Where they give up everything, basically, so they preserve their butts, and we don't destroy half the planet in the process of this, so that we can continue as free people, so that they can continue to breathe. It's pretty simple. They know we'll get to quite a few of them, and this has them scared to death. The guards that have been doubled on a lot of the homes and estates that these people live in, tripled in some cases, and they don't do that without cause. They are scared. They think that it's coming now, so they're trying to prepare what forces they can. These people go to training. They don't have a problem with that. They'll learn how to fight against somebody who's trained like they are. Now, you have to understand that when I say 80% of the military, I'm not kidding. I asked, and I got confirmation of battalions, divisions, at 80% in the military. There's whole aircraft carriers that will not launch an aircraft against the civilian population. They refuse to do it. Now, what are you going to do? It sure ain't going to be the boat captain, the rear admiral flying that airplane, I guarantee you. Now, what I'm trying to express is that we got them over a barrel in a lot of ways, yes, but they're making mass-ditch emergency efforts to make sure that they can at least maybe survive. If this goes through, and that's why I'm doing this right now, if this goes through on this vote, they will have something to gauge the will of the people by. And I personally would vote for this on its merit. Okay, now the reason, listen to me very carefully, the reason I would is that because of the manner in which it takes their power from them on a permanent basis. That's a big difference. They're willing to surrender that so that they can live peaceably and not have to worry about somebody grinching up in the middle of the night with a big sharp knife and doing a number. Real simple. They don't want to.
How does China feel about this?
China, you're going to be surprised where China fits in, and Russia as well. And I'm not allowed to talk about either one. But I'll just say that it will be a surprise to you.
Okay, well, if they're really serious and they're really concerned that we're going to come after them, and if they were to offer a show of good faith, how about if we keep our guns, our personal debts wiped out, no more poison in our food and water, common law becomes the rule, MSM's cleaned out, no NDAA, no Patriot Act, and no voter fraud. If they could make those things happen in the next 24 to 48 hours, I would happily vote yes.
Well, you're going to find something along the order of Monday or Tuesday before I find out whether or not what we've got is acceptable. That's the time frame.
Greg, can I add something here?
I don't know of anyone who can do any better than that because it has to be presented and then it has to be answered.
Greg, can I add something else too?
Go ahead.
Okay, somebody spoke of rolling things out in the media. I know, about a dozen significant stories that our mainline Patriot broadcasters will not run with because they've been warned off. I'm in contact with a number of them. And if they'll kill JFK in broadcast daylight, not to mention thousands of others, they'll kill anyone, and that the bravado is false. Now, if you'll notice, we're hearing more and more info of out of mainstream talk radio, like AM Coast to Coast. They're letting the dopes off the rope, is what it boils down to. Number two, Iran has already told the rest of the world they will sell oil in a number of currencies, which tells me that the Iranian regime knows that our military won't attack them. If Israel goes in there, I figure they're going to be by themselves. You got to understand, all over the world, people are rioting. They've identified the man behind the curtain, and I can't help but notice this in all little economics. I'll shut up again.
Frederick. All right, getting back to the militia. Only one person has the authority to call out the militia. That is the county sheriff. Every man, woman, and child from the age of 16 to 85 is subject to be called out as members of the militia. They are required, which was during the French and Indian War, to bring one long gun, one short gun, and one shotgun. That would be one rifle, one pistol, and a shotgun with 50 rounds of each. Now then, to the next thing that I have on the agenda. People were asking what the fines and the penalties was. Well, back in 1800 and something, I forget which court it was, but fines were set at $10 or 1/5 of a person's monthly income, whichever was the greater. This is what fines and bonds and penalties were to be. I'm just wondering if we're going to go back to that standard on fines and penalties.
What makes you think that the militia has to be instituted by the National Guard or the sheriff? That's not the way of the militia at all.
The militia is only to be, has the complete authority of the county sheriff. Any other arms called by anyone else is a violation of the Constitution. If you'll look it up under the Constitution, who has the authority to call out the militia? That is your county sheriff. He is not subject to the legislature, to the president, to the governor, or anyone else. The county sheriff is elected by the people, and he is the people's representative, and he is responsible to the people of that county and no one else.
I've got a question. Congress and Senate are much of the problem in the USA, either because they're corrupt themselves or they're corruptible and controllable. Will those who are be adjudicated?
Yes. There's going to be a tremendous shift in a whole bunch of different ways. Now, like I said, this agreement that I'm propounding is simply the basis. It does not include everything that has been accomplished that goes along with it. There are other things that have been done that preclude any form of corruption, that includes the organic or original 13th Amendment, and basically sets the country free. This was a task assigned to a group of people that completed it to the satisfaction of the military. The military requested it be done, and it was completed. The next step of this is to make sure that the cabal, as we would like to call it, the bad guys, position where they no longer can and will never be able to again do what they've done before. They don't mind that so long as they're saving their butts.
Drake, our court system is federal and local are so corrupt. It ain't even funny. Are we going to address those issues too?
Well, of course. Think about it. Who would you trust as a judge? Think about that person.
I mean, we have a sheriff whose wife is a judge. He's arresting them, and she adjudicates them. And that you talk about a conflict of interest.
Well, conflict of interest may or may not apply. It depends on whether or not it's an honest adjudication according to the law and according to the constitutional common law basis of what adjudication is supposed to be. And out of that, his question makes that particular person questionable. not.
Well, they're flying Admiralty flags in the courtroom and a constitutional
And
flag
when you
out
go
front.
back to the original 13th Amendment title of nobility, any judge, attorney, lawyer, senator, Congress, anybody who's taken the bar exam is under British rule and has no citizenship or allegiance with America.
And they will be sent home.
Good.
Okay, now, the thing you got to understand is that there are going to be extraordinary changes. The basis of this are the enumerated points that I've made on this yes or no simple quiz. The will of the people, especially the freedom people, can be made known to the principals. I'm talking about the people that own the military-industrial complex. I'm talking about the people that own Federal Reserve banks. I'm talking about the people who are in trouble in Europe right now because the banks are going under and they don't know what to do about it. They're scrambling. They're no longer taking expense accounts. They can't because nobody will pay them. You know, there's been some extraordinary changes and people have overlooked all this. Now, as far as the United States goes, I've been a patriot all my life, and I sort of slowly learned it. Then I took an oath of service. And then I heard what the Constitution said, and it's been gobbledygooked up. Okay, so let's go back to the original as close as we can get, and that's your 1787 Constitution plus the 13th Amendment, original organic 13th Amendment. And believe me, just that alone will clear the shelf of all the BS that's been going on.
All right,
the Supreme Court's on.
I know Minuteman's around
your
here.
Attorney General is going to jail, and he don't have a choice. He's prosecuted people for supplying weapons that kill people, and he's guilty of that. That's the twin felonies, 10 to 25 each, no possibility for parole. So there are a lot of things that can be done, but needs to be accomplished in an orderly fashion. It does not need to have the chaos of riots in the street and civil war. What it needs is to have these people up against the wall, which is where they're at, hard enough that they can't get loose. That's the idea. This is where they're at. Now they still can do damage, as I stated. They still got full tanks of gas, and they still got a lot of weapons. I don't want all that stuff turned loose on us. That's horse hockey. It don't need to be if these people are really thinking about surrendering and giving up their positions of power, which is what they have intimated that they are willing to do. So, you know, you add to the fact that they're looking to help us transition to what should have been all along and joining the rest of the world in terms of the Eastern Alliance banking, having access to the collateral accounts, which will repair the infrastructure. You name it, sky's the limit. We actually have the opportunity to tell these principal people how the freedom people in the United States feel. This is why I put this out in the manner that I have as a big surprise. I wanted everybody to get a big jolt in the butt, and I wanted them to get excited, and I want them to make sure that as many that they know of that thinks any kind of anything similar will vote on this. These results are going directly to the families that are in control.
Oh yeah,
there's a difference between what happened before and what's happening now. These are the people that pay for the wars. Okay.
Hold on, just a second question. Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Yeah, you got people excited. There's chat rooms blowing up from here to Jupiter. One question that I've got is, what are we really dealing with here? Okay. Now you've said that 80% of the military won't fire on the people, but then there's the Dream Project, and then there's a rogue 20% that probably will fire on people. And who are we really going against here? Is this a UN driven thing, or what is it? If the military was to side with the American people and somebody wanted this country, and then our military was forced to defend basically the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is driven by the cabals and the financial families. Is that really what they're worried about? Is that the bloodbath that they're talking about avoiding?
That's a part of it, yes. And what you have to understand is that they've gotten to the point where the idea of the possibility of us getting to them brings back the pictures in their mind of the French Revolution when they sacked, burnt, pillaged, and destroyed. And these people do not want that. The reason they don't is they don't want to be the person that's living in the mansion that we take away from them and chopped up in little pieces or whatever. They want to avoid that. This does have the capability of saving their butts to an extent. And this is what they want to negotiate about. This is what they are looking at, and this is why they're looking at surrender. One of the reasons. The other reason is that they are financially being stripped anyway. Now, if you want to wait a while, that'll happen, and they'll lose their power. But in the meantime, they can do extraordinary damage. 20% could fire missiles, pilot aircraft, run a tank down Main Street, blow everything up. I mean, take your pick. There are enough people that probably would stop a lot of that, but there's going to be a few get loose. And the take that I have on it is a combination of two things. First of all, anybody who knows war don't like it. There are very rare birds who do. I could name names, but I'm not going to at this point. Most of the people that I know of are relatively nonviolent, average every day, have a beer after work, have fun, play with the kids, this sort of thing.
Excuse me, can I cut in for just a second? I'm going to have to cut off on the broadcast. I apologize, but we have another show lined up. We've got Jerome Corsi coming on over on Truth Finders. So I'm going to have to leave. But I just wanted to say this in closing. Last time I spoke to you, Drake, I was, I actually wanted to believe that mass arrests were going to be made and we would have a peaceful resolve to all this. Now I hear you talking about surrendering, and they're surrendering and making deals with the devil. I am 100%, you have lost my support for one, and I apologize to be that blunt, and I'm being as nice as I can, because I do not want to disrespect the other networks or the other shows. But my chat room and all of the listeners that have tuned into the show, you're asking them to go on a faith-based, and they're not giving us anything, and we don't have anything to show or to defend or to understand. This is really pissing off a lot of patriots, Drake, and this is just, you have lost so much trust in the community and with the listeners here. You've just done a 180 on everybody, and we don't even know if we can trust you or talk to you or understand what's going on. And everybody is sitting here pissed off and just spinning because they've listened to you, they followed you, and they don't understand why you would be doing this. And you're talking about allowing the puppeteers to still remain in control. I don't understand, and I know that Paul and Gina are going to be doing a show on Saturday morning to help address and help understand this. So for all of our lovely listeners over on Truth Finders Network, if you're up Saturday morning, Gina and Paul will be having a morning show to talk about all this. But I've got to go. I've got to make way for the next show. So I'm out. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Gina. Dragon Net Lady, I'm not too sure about you. And Drake, please, you know how to contact me. But I've got to go.
Yes, I do.
All right, I will talk to you later.
Okay.
And
all right, guys.
You're listening to Spreaker Web Radio.
The fact that they're training, well, yeah, they believe that the military is supporting them. And in fact, they've already lost about 80% plus. So you have to understand that, and then you have to look at the other part of it, that if this goes, they'll probably send everybody home, cancel.
Okay, now we've got about 5 minutes left of the program. We've got about 5 minutes left of the program, and I'd like to get as many questions in as we possibly can. So let's do the rapid fire 5 minute countdown. Please limit your question to about 30 seconds to a minute, and let's please limit the answer to about a minute so we can get as many questions in the few minutes that we've got left. Go ahead.
I just want to say really quick that Lady Dragon needs to make sure her has the bandwidth to handle the traffic that it's going to get, or it'll just crash and we'll all be crazy. Thanks.
Okay. Drake, can you comment on the ancient rights of discovery?
That goes to the basis of most law. Excuse me. It also goes to the basis right of possession and the understanding of the two in combination that allows us to be who we are as people, irrespective as to where we are. That's the only comment I'll give on that. Next.
God bless you.
How do we know that we can trust these people?
We don't.
How do we know
And the reason
how do we know we can turn around and just do the same thing that they've been doing all along?
Well, that's because they are asking for the surrender. They're offering to surrender. That's the difference. That's a big differential. They're up against the wall, as I stated before. And in that particular sense, what they would like to do is get out of this as without as any damage to themselves or their family, and that's what they're looking at.
So that gives their enemy the right to negotiate their surrender.
Say that again?
Who gives their enemy the right to negotiate their own surrender?
That's why I've added some things that they are not expecting because they made some unreasonable propositions, and I do not agree with the idea altogether, but as I said, they're trying to preserve a little bit, specifically their own good health, and there's no right involved other than we have a choice, either all-out war or peaceful negotiations. Next question.
Hey, Jerry? Jerry?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Yes.
If somebody's already paid off their mortgage and they own their house, will they get the interest back from their mortgage, that extra interest they paid in?
That's a good question. I'm not privy to all of the absolute finance, so I can't answer that question. There are people who have much better knowledge of that than I do, who will be involved in these negotiations if they accept these points that I'm offering. Next question.
Okay. Drake, I have a question. I want to know if this goes down and they do make a deal, and I understand they are ready for war. We understand that. But I want to know, is Obama and all of these cronies that are in the government, except for Ron Paul, that's the only one that we really know, or Rand Paul, are they going to survive? Are they going to still be in office? Because if that's
No, you're going to have an extraordinary change in government simply because of the 13th Amendment, let alone the fact that the power reverts to the people, and the people have the say in who is or is not holding an office correctly. Next question.
Drake?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm a former Marine, Vietnam era, and I was enlisted, and I'm trying to imagine how the current enlisted man is going to stand up against officers that are telling him to do something. I mean, the 80% you talk about concerns me because generally, from my recollection, the enlisted man is pretty much going to do what he's told.
You need to look at the archives. I did an addressment of the troops.
Oh, I've heard it. Yeah.
Okay, well, what that does is that addresses the manner in which a person can stand down from an order that they do not consider lawful.
Mm-hmm.
And pay attention to it. Now, we did a stand down in Vietnam at gunpoint. We told the man, no, we're not going to kill our friends. We knew these people in this ville. They wanted us to destroy, and we told them no, and pointed our guns at these people who wanted to do it. And they decided it wasn't a good idea. Suddenly, the orders changed.
Right.
So this is something that needs to be understood, and this was not the only incident.
Okay.
The feedback you're getting from from the military, the 80% you're referring to, do you have a sense of how deep that goes as far as through the ranks and into the enlisted men?
Yeah, it was run up the flagpole. It has circulated in memo form at the Joint Chiefs level.
Okay. With that, we're out of time. I want to
Where do we
remind.
get a replay?
Where you can get the replay at globalvoiceradio.net. And the replay will be available immediately after the show. There will be a follow-up program on this that where the results of the straw poll, the voting, will be released and talked about. That will be Sunday, this Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time until 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock Eastern. Well, no, 1 to 3 Eastern. This has been an extraordinary program, absolutely positively. This has been a Global Voice Network Drake and Company program that was up until a few minutes ago simulcast on the Truth Finders Network, www.truthfindersnetwork.com. Thank you so much. Be sure and catch Gina and Bina on the weekend. That will be starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, and we'll also be talking about some of this too. Thank you so much for visiting with us tonight. We do appreciate it. This is the Global Voice Radio Network. Everybody have a good evening.
Blasting the voice of freedom worldwide. You're listening